This was the second time I'd seen Hamzah Sheeraz fight. The first time was in his last fight back in July at Wembley Arena. And going into that fight, I'd heard a lot about him, people saying that he was the British version of Tommy Hearns. That, to me, was a red flag right there, because Tommy Hearns was a very, very rare talent. A tall, lanky fighter with tremendous speed, and as we know, tremendous punching power as well, who knew how to use his physical attributes. He was a very long-rangey guy, and he would fight long and rangy. But when I saw Hamzah Sheeraz at Wembley Arena, he was absolutely nothing like Tommy Hearns. Other than being tall like Tommy Hearns and skinny, he didn't have the coordination of Tommy Hearns. He didn't have the ranginess in terms of using his height and reach. Hamzah Sheeraz fights quite squared up, squared up shoulders, hunched over. I mean, the style is absolutely nothing like Tommy Hearns at all. And in terms of power and speed, well, he's got a bit of power there, but it's certainly not Tommy Hearns' power. And he is slow as molasses compared to Tommy Hearns. I mean, there's night and day in terms of the speed. Tommy Hearns had a much quicker jab, much faster right hand, much faster combination puncher, just way more explosive and athletically gifted than Hamzah Sheeraz. And this is not to try and denigrate Hamzah Sheeraz or try and have a go at him or anything like that. Got nothing against the guy. I'm just being objective and saying what I see. And as I say, from the last time I saw Hamzah Sheeraz, I wasn't particularly impressed. But then again, people were comparing him to Tommy Hearns. It's very, very hard to live up to that type of praise. And he didn't even come close to living up to a Tommy Hearns. So in this fight here against Bradley Skeete, it was more of the same. Hamzah Sheeraz is very slow, actually, for 154 pounds. A slow guy, tall, rangy, does seem to have heavy hands, was getting outboxed by the much more fluid veteran in Bradley Skeete, who now trains under Dominic Ingle up there in Sheffield at the Winkerbank. And yeah, Bradley Skeete seemed to be having it all his own way, outboxing Hamzah Sheeraz. There was a lack of urgency, which the commentators talked about from Shiraz. Eventually, his corner, and he's trained by a Mexican, got onto him and said, look, you got to get this guy out of there, or at least you got to put some serious damage on him. And Shiraz finally heeded that from his corner and decided to start applying pressure. And as you can see from the description on BoxRec here, Shiraz deducted a point in the 8th for hitting Skeete on the floor. Yes, Skeete went down. One of the shots was on the back of the head. I think the initial shot that floored him was on the back of the head, or at least borderline. And then there was a couple of shots while he was on the floor. Now, Skeete stayed down for a long time, and it looked like he was trying to get a disqualification, but the referee told him, you better get up or I'll count you out. Which really, I mean, you guys make up your minds about what you think of that. Whether you think that Bradley Skeete should have stayed down and rightly got the disqualification, or whether the referee was right to tell him to get up. Because the referee, I guess, thought that the punches weren't so damaging that it would need to result in a disqualification. I guess that's the argument that he might come up with. But other people would say Shiraz is the house fighter. He's the one who Frank Warren wants to do well. And therefore, there was maybe some type of political, favoritism on behalf of Hamzah Sheeraz, favoring him and therefore not wanting him to get disqualified. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. For me, I don't know whether Bradley Skeete would have survived even if he hadn't been hit on the back of the head there. Because as soon as Shiraz injected some pace and some urgency into what he was doing, he seemed to get Skeete in trouble quite easily. And Skeete certainly couldn't take the power. So, and it was late in the fight. Skeete had been moving around. He hadn't been under intense pressure, but it's still a 12-round fight, Excuse me, a 10-round fight. So he's going to slow down some towards the back end of it. There was 2 rounds to go. He was dropped in the 8th, managed to survive that barely. Then he was down again in the 9th, and that was all she wrote. So, yeah, it was a controversial fight, I have to say that, because of Hamzah Sheeraz hitting Bradley Skeete while he was down. I know Dominic Ingle is very upset, and he's going to be talking to the British Boxing Board of Control to try and get the result changed to a no contest. So, I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. But if this is to be an appraisal of Hamzah Sheeraz, I weren't impressed when I saw him back at Wembley. I weren't impressed this time at the copper box against Bradley Skeete. Again, slow, cumbersome, footwork not great. Fights like a Mexican, actually. Trained like a Mexican and fights in that kind of hunched over pressure style. But yeah, he's 6'1". In fact, some people say he's taller than 6'1". Is this the right style for a guy of his dimensions? Should he be fighting more like a tall man rather than trying to walk people down and there's a way to walk a guy down like a tall man, but he doesn't walk people down like a tall man, side on behind the jab. No, he walks people down like he's a short fighter, gives up his height and reach. Is that the right style for him? Some people might say it is because of the fact that he's so slow. That if he tried to box, it wouldn't work. He'd be getting caught with all types of shots. He's better off imposing himself the way that he does. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, I actually agree with what Dominic Ingalls said. In that he said in an interview that Hamzah Sheeraz probably won't go past British European level, based upon what I'm seeing here. Unless he's got other gears that we've not yet seen, or I've not yet seen in his past 2 fights, then I have to agree with that sentiment that he probably at this stage won't go past British European level unless he improves dramatically. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Should there be a rematch? Were you unhappy with the way that this fight ended? How controversial do you think it really was? Let me know in the comments below.